This is Ennis Lunatic Asylum. It was built in the 1830s and it closed in 2002. Thousands and thousands of patients were through the doors here. There was excellent doctors, excellent nurses, you can be sure, over the many years. And many people were helped. But there is a dark history, a dark past that we don't like to talk about. The Dangerous Lunatics Act of 1838. It meant that many people who were a little bit different, who had a tic or something that made them a little bit odd, they could be arbitrarily institutionalized in one of these buildings. And even if the doctor thought you were sane, gave you a clean bill, said there's nothing wrong with this person, they've no business being in one of these hospitals, they were still given an arbitrary 6 months. So it meant that poor families who were desperate, who were afraid that maybe their loved one with the little bit of a bad habit might cost them entry into Australia, Canada, America, they could have them institutionalized while they sold off all the land to get enough money to get the boat over to a better life. But that meant that the poor loved one was trapped here in the asylum for the rest of their life, or maybe the poorhouse or homeless. What's more, the head of prisons was the man responsible for these institutions, and the prisons were overflowing in the 1800s. So these places, very spacious, look at the size of them. They were state of the art. So all of these prisoners were brought over who had no business been treated in a mental hospital. And you can imagine the poor people who needed help and the criminals who needed rehabilitation being thrown in together. You can imagine the chaos that ensued. What's more, we have reports that there was experiments with electrocution and drug testing on patients, but those records for the most part are sealed. What I do know is that a nurse that worked here in the 1970s described it as worse than hell. That isn't to say there wasn't good done in these places. I have no doubt there was. But let's not lie or deceive ourselves and hide the trauma of some of our loved ones. Because if we ignore it, history is sure to repeat itself.